Welcome to my views and news. Some news stories from Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Sudan. First news story is about a letter written by Ethiopian Orthodox Church General Manager Abune Abraham. Abune Abraham has written a letter to Abune Kirlos. It seems that Orthodox Church is frustrated with attempts to reconcile with the Orthodox groups, Orthodox archbishops based in Tigray and Oromia. That is why some decisions are going to be made now. Secondly, Shorobit, North Shore Zone, where Fano fighters carried out an ambush on Ethiopian army soldiers at the entrance of Shorobit city reportedly. Thirdly, a few days ago, I shared with you some pictures of Somali region's special forces. I said that special forces in Somali region were still operating. I shared the picture showing Somali region special force members clad in the uniforms conducting some operations in a zone of the Somali region. Some were criticized. They said, Sajid, you are making a big claim just on the basis of a few pictures. Now I have a picture, not only a picture, but a video from another region of Ethiopia showing that special forces have not been disbanded. They are still operating in special force uniform. So why is that Ethiopian government rushed to Amhara region to disarm special forces? Disarm and disbandment. Disarmament happened in Amhara region. Fourthly, viewers, plight of Eritrean refugees in Sudan. How many Eritrean refugees were in Sudan before the war broke out in Sudan on the 15th of April? How many are there now? How many have entered Eritrea? How many have fled into Ethiopia? How many have been abducted by smugglers? Lastly, viewers, very interesting development from Sudan. More than a week ago, an Egyptian ship docked at Port Sudan, and we saw pictures. It was said that the Egyptian ship had brought humanitarian aid for the people of Sudan. Was the ship carrying humanitarian aid or ammunition for Sudanese military? Lastly, viewers, unfortunate, shocking developments from Chad-Sudan border, where convoys carrying refugees are being ambushed, allegedly by Rapid Support Force members. In an ambush, unknown number of people killed and dozens still missing. Firstly, viewers, we know that the Orthodox Church of Ethiopia is facing internal rift. Tigray archbishops have refused to reconcile with the main church. Tigray archbishops say that the main church, led by the Patriarch Abune Matthias, blessed the war on Tigray. Churches in Tigray were stormed. Priests were killed. In the 2-year-long war, church remained silent. Rather, it was part of the war. So that is why Tigray archbishops are resisting efforts of reconciliation and mediation from the main church. The main church tried to engage Tigray archbishops. They were invited for a meeting to Addis Ababa. Their salaries were restored to funds were released as well for Tigray Orthodox Church from main Orthodox Church. And Orthodox Church appointed a committee of negotiators, mediators to talk to Tigray archbishops, but no signs of reconciliation so far. I think the church wrote a letter to Tigray interim president Getachew as well to play a part in the resolution of dispute between the Tigray Orthodox Church and the main church. Another challenge faced by the church is from the Oromia region, where a few months ago some archbishops unilaterally appointed bishops to different dioceses of Oromia and outside Oromia as well without approval from the main church. That led to start of a confrontation between a faction based in Oromia and the main church. And Oromia's most dioceses are still not under the control of main church. They are being controlled by breakaway faction. Disagreements exist about new appointments, promotions of bishops in Oromia reportedly. The church has been trying to reconcile. It says that church should be united. But faced with resistance from Tigray and Oromia, it seems the main church is going to start nationwide consultations now. Key decisions could be made. Yesterday, a letter written from Bahardar Diocese Archbishop appeared. Bahardar Diocese Archbishop is Abune Abraham. Abune Abraham is general manager of the church. And he has written a letter to Abune Kirlos. The letter is being shared in social media since yesterday. No denial from the Bahardar Diocese so far. The letter clearly mentions that archbishops from Tigray and Oromia are rebelling. They are revolting. And Abune Abraham is asking Abune Kirlos to nominate 10 bishops for negotiations, it seems. It seems that the main church is asking diocese to nominate bishops, archbishops for nationwide consultations, and main negotiations, consultations could be held in Addis Ababa. It could happen in coming days. So far, invitations are being sent. Lists of invitees is being finalized, it seems. Tigray Archbishop Marha Christos was heard saying that link with Ethiopian Orthodox Church had been broken. That Tigray would form a separate synod, elect a new patriarch. Though existing patriarch, current patriarch Abune Matthias is a Tigrayan, but Tigray archbishops have refused to reconcile with the main church. I think now key decisions will be made by the church. Church has been trying to be engaged with Tigray and Oromia region-based factions, but efforts of reconciliation and mediation did not produce any results. Now the church is going to make some big decisions. Of course, this issue needs to reach a conclusion. Church will have to make some decisions. Let's see what it does. Will it try to delay decisions? Will it try to keep the matter under discussion? Or will it make big decisions? We'll see in coming days. So far, no denial from Abune Abraham or Bahardar Diocese about this letter. Secondly, viewers, Shoarabit is in North Shore zone of the Amhara region, where we know that Ethiopian army has been conducting an operation against Fano fighters. In different parts of North Shore, Ethiopian army has been conducting operations. And we shared with you new stories about fighting close to Majate, Rasa, etc. in shore orbit. A top general of Ethiopian military visited shore orbit, if you remember. He held some meetings with Ababo Tadase, top ENDF general. Deputy Chief of Staff held some meetings with Shoa elders. Shoa is very volatile these days. Why? Because in Shoa, Girma Shitila was assassinated. And Shoa shares border with Oromia too. So, now an incident is being confirmed showing that Ethiopian National Defense Force members were ambushed by Fano fighters. It happened yesterday reportedly. At the entrance of Shoa Robit city, Ethiopian army soldiers were ambushed. Several were injured in this attack. Obviously, Fano fighters carried out this ambush on Ethiopian army soldiers. And just yesterday, there was a meeting in shore orbit involving locals, youth, Ethiopian army officials for dialogue, for reconciliation, for discussion. Ethiopian military is trying to involve local elders. The local elders should talk to Fano fighters. Fano fighters are not based in Shoa, North Shoa towns and cities. They are mainly based in forest mountains. Ethiopian army wants Fano fighters to lay down arms and they want elders to play a role. Elders obviously cannot convince Fano fighters to lay down arms. They won't agree. And Amhara population, both Oromo and Amhara live in Shoa. Amhara population, some sections support Fano fighters. So while discussions are ongoing for peace, for negotiations, for reconciliation, small scale armed conflict is continuing too. That is why Fano fighters carried out an ambush on ENDF soldiers at the entrance of Shoa Robit city. Thirdly, viewers, I have a clip for you showing that special forces have not been disbanded. It was several weeks ago when Ethiopian military chief Birhanu Jula, Ethiopian communication minister, all said that special forces had ceased to exist. All special forces had been disbanded. They issued these statements after massive protests in the Amhara region, where Ethiopian army entered to disband, disarm Amhara special force members. Amhara special force members resisted. Thousands fled. They joined Fano factions, but Ethiopian army took this position that all special forces were being disbanded. They were being restructured. The term used was restructuring, that special forces were being restructured. Special force members would be integrated into regional police, prison police, federal forces. And in the Amhara region, entire Amhara region special force has been disbanded. Have you seen any Amhara region special force member wearing a uniform? No, because in Amhara region, regional special force has been completely disbanded, though it could not be completely disbanded in terms of the fact that thousands have joined Fano fighters. But practically, there is no Amhara special force on the ground. Same is not true in other regions of Ethiopia. Around 2 weeks ago, more than a week ago, I shared pictures with you from Somali region. Somali region special forces are still operating, clad in regional special force uniforms. Now, another piece of evidence for you. This time from the Afar region of Ethiopia. 2 days ago, in Awash Arba, an Afar police member was killed by an Ethiopian army member. People started protesting. They blocked main roads. Awash Arba, Metihara, Harar, Derediva roads were blocked by angry protesters. Afar special force members were seen there. negotiating with angry Afar protesters. I have a clip for you clearly showing Afar Special Force members. Not an old video, new video, just 2-day old video. So you see, when I shared picture from the Smile region, people said, Sajid, just on the basis of one picture, you are drawing big conclusions. Though I got that picture from a source who was on the ground, I said, please share some pictures, fresh pictures of Somali Special Forces with me, and he did. Still people raised questions. Now video for you that Amhara Special Force intact, it seems. People would say that these Special Forces members, they don't have uniforms to join their new appointments. That's just ridiculous that they don't have uniforms. If regional Special Forces have been disbanded, it means no one can wear regional Special Force uniforms. It means Ethiopian government only wanted to disband Amhara region Special Force. Why? Because this regional Special Force could have resisted Ethiopian government's decisions about future status of Raya and Volkite. That is why Ethiopian army rushed to the Amhara region to disband, disarm Special Force members. Strategy backfired. Special Force members refused to be disarmed. They joined Fano, not all of them. People protested. We saw re-emergence of Fano. Fano has been there in Amhara region, but we saw re-emergence. Fano fighters, Fano factions reorganized themselves. ASF members joined them. People supported them. You see now what is happening. That in the Amhara region, anti-government resistance armed movement is taking a shape. It is becoming strong. It is mainly to the decision made by federal government to disband Special Forces in a hurry in the Amhara region. That decision was only implemented in the Amhara region, it seems. A clip for you showing just 2-day old Afar Special Force members negotiating with angry Afar protesters in the Afar region of Ethiopia. Fourthly, viewers, Eritrean refugees in Sudan. No one is sharing details of how many are alive, how many are still accessible to aid organizations. Before the war broke out in Sudan, there were around 130,000 Eritrean refugees in Sudan, dependent on food aid mostly, and they were facing different issues in Sudan. They were at the mercy of Sudanese government too, which was committing excesses. They were being abducted by smugglers too. There were lots of problems for them in Sudan. Then on the 15th of April, war broke out in Sudan. What happened after that? How many Eritrean refugees are in Sudan? No one knows. How many have returned to Eritrea? How many have entered Ethiopia? How many have been abducted? By the way, smugglers are abducting, traffickers are abducting Eritrean refugees. Then their family members are contacted and ransom is demanded. Family members residing in Europe, America, etc. And after the war broke out in Khartoum, Bari, Madarman, Eritrean refugees there, they fled towards border areas, towards Kassala, Gaddaraf, and they tried to enter Ethiopia. Eritrean intelligence agents were operating on Sudan-Eritrea border, and it was said that they were kidnapping Eritrean refugees, taking them by force into Eritrea. Though when they were taken by force to Eritrea, they were put in prisons. Rather, they were freed and they were issued 6-month permits to live with their families. Eritrea opened its border for Sudanese people as well, but Eritrean military was deployed on the border, on Sudan side of the border as well. So Eritrean refugees, some were taken to Eritrea, some entered Eritrea voluntarily, some entered Ethiopia voluntarily. Question is, how many are left in Sudan? How many have entered Ethiopia? How many have entered Eritrea? No one actually knows. How many are still dependent on food aid? Are they receiving any food aid? It's the responsibility of UN organizations. They should share details. Sudanese government should tell the world where are 130,000 Eritrean refugees. Sudanese government has lots of other issues. There is no government, by the way, in Sudan. Tens of thousands of Sudanese are entering neighboring countries on daily basis. Thousands are entering neighboring countries: Chad, Central African Republic, Egypt, South Sudan, Ethiopia. In all these countries, tens of thousands have entered from Sudan so far. It means there is basically no government in Sudan. Who will protect Eritrean refugees in Sudan? At least UN organization should share details. UN refugee organization should share details of how many Eritrean refugees are still left in Sudan and how many fled into neighboring countries. Lastly, viewers, an interesting news story for you from Sudan. More than a week ago, an Egyptian ship, Navy ship, reportedly, arrived at Port Sudan. We saw pictures showing that the Egyptian ship was carrying humanitarian aid for the people of Sudan. Other countries are sending humanitarian aid to Sudan too. But the name of the ship is Halaib. But some websites, some news sources which monitor the movement of ships and which know the types of ships say the type of ship Halaib which docked at Port Sudan is used for carrying, transporting ammunition. And this ship has capacity of carrying 1,080 tons of ammunition. Mostly, this type of ships are used to transport ammunition by countries. We cannot say it's a convincing piece of evidence, but Egypt is backing Sudanese military. Everyone knows that. We heard about involvement of Egyptian Air Force in support of Sudanese military, though we never saw any convincing evidence. Only just a few pieces of information. We cannot call these pieces of information convincing evidence, but signs are there. Egypt could be involved in backing Sudanese military. Secondly, viewers, refugees entering Chad from Darfur are being ambushed. A convoy carrying 30 vehicles with hundreds of refugees was ambushed by RSF fighters on Darfur-Chad border. It was ambushed in Shukri area, which is on Sudan-Chad border. And dozens of refugees were killed in this attack. Dozens are missing. Out of 30 vehicles, only 16 managed to enter Chad. 14 vehicles are missing. It means that the people who were on board these 14 vehicles are either dead or they are missing or they are injured. They could not make it to Chad. It's catastrophe on Sudan-Chad border. RSF are in charge there. And ethnic violence is engulfing this border area. RSF fighters, Arab fighters, they are hitting non-Arab targets. Non-Arab people are being hit. and ethnic violence which we saw in Darfur years ago is back. RSF fighters, they are gradually taking control of entire Darfur, west, central, north, south. If this war goes on, I think in coming weeks we could see entire Darfur under RSF control. But people are there. Non-Arabs live there too. Non-Arab tribes live there too. So fighting will continue and people will keep on losing their lives in this conflict. Thank you for watching.